The SEC is implementing new rules today as part of the Dodd-Frank financial reform law to basically make it easier for employees to become whistleblowers. The rules have significant implications, as you can imagine, as they apply to publicly traded companies in the United States and international firms that trade as ADRs here. So now every employee, regardless of where they work in the world, is a potential watchdog, basically, for the SEC. Is that actually a good thing? Paul Dopp, partner at Habif, Arogeti, and Wynne. It's a top 50 accounting firm in the United States. It joins us live this morning. And John Lyons is still with us on set. So, Paul, can you just tell us basically what the change is going to be?
Well, the change really is quite significant in the sense that for the first time, the SEC is incentivizing employees of publicly traded companies to be a watchdog for the SEC. And the way they do this is providing a significant bounty of up to 30% of any fines collected over $1 million from successful enforcement actions that arise as a result of a whistleblower complaint. Also, there are anti-retaliation provisions in this act that protects an employee who is a whistleblower from any retaliation by their employees, such as a termination, suspension, harassment, and so on. Also, this is going to lead, I believe, to an avalanche of complaints and tips filed with the SEC. They're going to have to triage through all those tips and identify those that are high quality as leads for further investigations.
Paul, I think we all agree that it's certainly good for our system that frauds are exposed, but one of the things that concerns me as a principal in a major firm is how do we get employees to follow the procedures that we have in place, the internal procedures for reporting frauds and issues, as opposed to having the government incent these employees with these large bounties, as you mentioned, to go to them directly? How do we keep them within the system without circumventing the law?
Well, that's an excellent question, and that's one that's really keeping CEOs and CFOs up at night. The concern is that the internal reporting compliance systems that corporations have may be undermined, it may be weakened, because how do you compete against the SEC, who's offering your employee a huge bounty, as opposed to using the hotline? I think there's a number of ways that we here at Habif, Arogeti, and Wynne are recommending to our corporate clients, and that is really to educate their employees on why it's important, that a compliance program is important to the future success of the company. You do this by training, you do this by setting up a compliance program that's easy to understand, that's well communicated to the employee. You might set up your own systems and rewards. But you also want to train your management to make sure they're aware of the anti-retaliation rules, and you set up a system whereby you have a strategic plan in place, a reaction strategy, so that you know how to react and you react appropriately. I think a corporation that has a compliance program in place that is simple and that is communicated to the employees, and one where they reward and encourage employees to actively participate in part of the corporate culture of reporting any violations, that will go a long way to helping keep the employee within the internal reporting program as opposed to going straight to the SEC.
Well, I certainly hope that our systems in place at Savills are spot on. But I have a question. Do you think that the government is going too far by providing rewards of up to 30%? Is that going to bring a slew of unjustified or unwarranted claims against companies in the hope that there'll be some type of reward for an employee?
We'll have to see. That clearly is the concern, that there could be a lot of sour grapes in here, that anyone who has a beef or a bone to pick with their company could use this as leverage by reporting and making trouble for their employer by filing a complaint with the SEC. I think at the same time, with the shrinking resources that the SEC is faced with, this is clearly to their benefit a way of having almost an increased workforce of people in the corporate community who would be reporting potential violations to them and hopefully make their job easier. They will be setting up some form of identifying the quality tips so that they'll try to avoid dealing with tips that may be less quality than others.